Faking, my fiancé claims as my friend's boyfriend night before my engagement party, I accidentally fell from the second floor. After being unconscious for a day and a night, I overheard the doctor tell my fiancé I might have amnesia. Suddenly, I wanted to play a prank on Julian, so I pretended to have lost my memory. "Who are you?" Julian's expression froze for a moment. I almost couldn't hold back my laughter. The next second, he suddenly pulled the woman standing beside him into his arms. "I'm your best friend's boyfriend. One Tiffany was my best friend. Now she was being held by my boyfriend." Her expression showed a brief flicker of surprise, followed immediately by barely contained joy. Yes. I'm your good friend, and this is my boyfriend." A jolt shot through me, and my blood seemed to rush upwards. I had only meant to play a small joke, but unexpectedly, I had become the biggest fool here. "You're not joking, are you?" I forced myself to ask the question. They must be joking, right? Did they realize I wasn't actually suffering from amnesia and decide to prank me back? How could we be joking? Tiffany wiggled the ring on her right ring finger. "You see, Julian and I were supposed to get engaged today. Because of your accident, our engagement party was cancelled." Tiffany's diamond ring almost blinded me. The 10-carat square-cut diamond, which Julian had custom-made for me months ago. Now it was on my best friend's hand. "You two, when did you get together?" Tiffany leaned against Julian's chest. "Oh, we've been together for 5 years." Julian's expression flickered, and he gave me an uneasy glance. Seeing no further reaction from me, he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Julian and I had also been together for 5 years. So, they had been together for that long. It turned out my best friend and my boyfriend had been cheating on me behind my back all this time. Julian made a call, and a few minutes later, a man with an exceptionally handsome face appeared in my hospital room. It was Alexander, Julian's best friend, and the person who looked down on me the most. Julian and Alexander both hailed from Metro City's most prominent families. I, however, was born in Willow, a small, obscure city. The socialites Julian associated with all believed I was only with him for his money, and it wasn't uncommon for them to disparage me. And among them, Alexander was the most hostile towards me. He wouldn't even deign to attend Julian's and my engagement party. Now, Alexander stood at the dorm entrance, his deep, dark eyes fixed directly on me. "This is your boyfriend, Alexander." Julian introduced him unhurriedly, and just like that, my boyfriend had become Alexander. Julian lied without a hint of hesitation, but I refused to believe Alexander would participate in this absurd charade with him. Alexander curled his lip. "Yes, I'm your boyfriend." I was too stunned to speak. Julian left me with Alexander and walked away with Tiffany. Alexander and I stared at each other, silent for a long time. "Take me home." For Alexander handled my discharge papers, and I followed him home in a daze. He said we had been together for many years. Looking at the sprawling villa with no trace of my belongings, I nodded, playing along with the charade just like him. He found a pair of women's slippers for me. Surprisingly, they fit perfectly. He lifted me into his arms, placed me on the sofa, and pressed a kiss on my forehead. I wanted to dodge, but he gripped my chin. There was nowhere to escape. "Sage, be good. I'll go cook for you." I almost forgot that I hadn't eaten for days. It turned out Alexander's house didn't even have a housekeeper. It was hard to imagine that a CEO like him would come home every day and cook for himself. Following the sound, I found Alexander's kitchen. He was slowly whisking eggs. Julian's voice message played from the kitchen. "Could you look after Sage for me for a bit? Aren't you afraid she'll break up with you if she regains her memory?" Afraid of what? Everyone in Metro City knows how much she loves me. Even if she caught me in bed with someone else, she wouldn't divorce me. "If you want to be with Tiffany, why don't you break up with Sage?" "I do love Sage, but she's just so boring in bed. Once I'm tired of Tiffany, I'll bring her back home." Alexander didn't reply, just focused on preparing the eggs. "Alexander, you're my best friend. Even though I know you'd never be interested in Sage, I'm still warning you, don't touch her. She's the woman I'm going to marry." Before could finish, Alexander hung up. I almost lost my footing and fell. So, the Julian who had always doted on me and loved me was a lie all along. He had considered me boring for a long time. Alexander noticed me. He put down what was in his hands, quickly wiped them clean, walked over, and pulled me into his arms. "What are you doing here? Isn't it fun?" I shook my head. "I came to see if there was anything I could help with." Alexander ruffled my hair. "My never lifts a finger, she never does things like this. Just leave everything to me." Alexander lied to me again. Every day with Julian, I did all sorts of chores at home. He didn't like strangers in the house, so he never hired a housekeeper. As his girlfriend, I took on the role of a housekeeper. I had to wake up early every day to cook, do laundry, and keep the sprawling villa spotless. My hands were covered in calluses, already lined with various marks. I had long considered him my husband, so I performed all these chores without complaint. Doesn't your wife have to do housework? I leaned against Alexander's chest, his heart beat powerfully and steadily. Of course not. You're the woman I love most, I couldn't bear for you to do these things. Alexander's tenderness almost made me forget that this was all just a charade. Alexander's cooking was delicious, and everything was sweet and spicy, just the way I liked it. Alexander, do you also lick? Eat sweet and spicy food? I made it because you like it. I was a little confused. How would he know? Even didn't know my favorite flavors. Julian particularly hated sweet things. So, I never put sugar in my cooking. I hadn't expected Alexander to know. It must be a coincidence. That night, I fell asleep in Alexander's bed. In the middle of the night, I felt someone wrap their arms around me from behind. His body was very warm, yet I felt incredibly safe. I loved the warmth, so I let Alexander hold me. He whispered softly and sighed behind me. How did you get so thin? 5. I slept deeply, waking up close to noon. Alexander's phone kept ringing. He impatiently pulled away to grab it, answered, then pulled me back into his arms. Alexander, don't forget the party tonight. I heard it clearly, it was Julian's voice. Alexander lazily played with my hair, tickling me slightly. I let out a soft tsk, not realizing the person on the other end heard it. What was that sound? Are you sleeping with a woman? Alexander hung up immediately. He silenced his phone and tossed it aside, then enveloped me completely. I felt our proximity becoming dangerous, and the temperature of his body rose. I tried to push him away, but he held me tighter. What are you doing? I was both shocked and angry, but Alexander showed no sign of letting go. What am I doing? Of course, what boyfriends and girlfriends do. His beautifully shaped lips drew closer and closer to mine. My heart pounded like a drum, and a sense of moral transgression suffocated me. I pushed Alexander away and quickly got out of bed, rushing into the bathroom. Before I could even close the door, Alexander's deep laugh reached my ears. I looked at my face in the mirror, abnormally flushed. I stayed in the bathroom for nearly half an hour before my heartbeat returned to a normal rhythm. Alexander said we used to kiss all the time and do all sorts of intimate things. He was lying again. I almost laughed at how angry I was. 6. That evening, Alexander took me to dinner. When we arrived, I realized Julian and Tiffany were also there, along with all the city's young socialites. Tiffany, in a strapless white evening gown, sat beside Julian. Around her neck was the ocean necklace that Alexander had brought back for me from an auction last week. I hadn't worn it, keeping it safely tucked away in the display cabinet of my walk-in closet, admiring it daily through the glass cover. Julian used to tease me, asking if I was ever going to wear it. Of course, I was. I had originally planned to wear it on my wedding day, but now it seemed I wouldn't even live to see that day with Julian. Sage. Tiffany stood up, a radiant smile on her face, and walked towards me, enthusiastically taking my hand as she always did. Today is sort of a belated engagement party for Julian and me. Her smiling eyes fixed on me unapologetically. I'm really glad you could make it. An engagement party? Today was actually Tiffany and Julian's engagement party. Tiffany's smile held blatant provocation. I almost lost my composure and revealed I hadn't lost my memory. Alexander pulled me into his embrace, subtly separating my hand from Tiffany's. Julian hadn't been paying attention to us until Alexander pulled me into his arms. His eyes narrowed, and his voice dropped low. What are you two talking about? Nothing. Alexander led me to a seat furthest from Julian and Tiffany. Julian and his friends were toasting each other. The noisy chatter gave me a headache, but Alexander kept putting food on my plate. Hey, Alexander, why aren't you drinking tonight? Alexander didn't even look up. I'll be driving later. Let drive then. Driving is too tiring, I wouldn't let her. The entire room of men and women began to cheer them on, except for Julian, who sat at the head of the table, his face stiffened. Alexander, you're quite attentive, Julian said with a half-smile that didn't quite reach his eyes, and the atmosphere instantly cooled. Someone tried to lighten the mood, suggesting Julian and Tiffany kiss since it was their engagement party. Tiffany proactively leaned into Julian and offered him a kiss. Julian's expression softened, and he deepened the kiss. They were locked in a passionate, intertwined kiss, their lips intertwined. I thought I was utterly disillusioned with Julian, but seeing such a direct display still made me sick to my stomach, tears streaming from my eyes in sheer disgust. I fled in disarray to the restroom alone. Through the door, I heard one of Julian's friends ask him if it was exciting to cheat on his girlfriend right in front of her. Julian laughed, a carefree and wild sound. Exciting? Of course, it's exciting. Sage has amnesia anyway. Even if she regains her memory, there's no way she'd leave me. Yes, I used to think that too. I would cling to Julian forever. In my freshman year, my family was too poor to pay for tuition, so I worked overnight shifts at KFC. I was the only one working the night shift. No one else was willing to stay up all night for such meager pay, and besides, I only had time for a part-time job at night as I had to attend classes during the day. During that time, I suffered severe sleep deprivation, with dark circles under my eyes worse than a panda's, and my health deteriorated. One morning, after finishing class, I collapsed on a school path because my body had been running on overdrive for too long. When I woke up again, I was in a hospital bed. I opened my eyes and saw a particularly handsome boy. Julian, seeing me awake, smiled, his eyes narrowing. His eyes were beautiful, filled with twinkling starlight. "What's your name?" His voice was also pleasant, clean and youthful. "Sage." "Hello, my name is Julian." Julian paid my medical fees, but I couldn't pay him back right away. He noticed my embarrassment, so he suggested we exchange WhatsApp numbers, saying I could pay him back when I received my living expenses. I didn't have living expenses, but I would be paid soon. I thought our interaction would end there. But unexpectedly, he sent me messages every day. He would tell me about a cute cat he saw on the road, or a peculiarly shaped cloud in the sky, and sometimes he'd say he was going to play basketball and ask if I wanted to come watch. But I never replied to a single one. To me, our relationship was merely that of creditor and debtor. Every message from him was nothing more than a reminder not to forget I owed him money. I didn't expect to see Julian again at the dorm entrance. I had just finished my midnight shift and was heading back to my dorm room for some sleep. It was still early dawn, the first rays of morning sunlight hadn't yet pierced through the thick clouds. I dragged my exhausted body towards the dorm, too tired to even lift my eyelids to watch where I was going, but unexpectedly, I bumped right into a firm embrace. My body tilted backward uncontrollably, but he swiftly wrapped an arm around my waist, pulling me back into his arms. The refreshing scent of ocean-scented cologne enveloped me, instantly jolting me awake. "Hey, why are you only just getting back? Did you go out? Or are you dating someone?" I looked up and realized it was Julian. He pelted me with questions like a machine gun. "Why aren't you replying to my messages?" I broke free from his embrace, pulled out my phone, and transferred 1,000 yuan to him. It was then that I noticed Julian had sent me dozens of messages overnight, all asking where I was. You waited here for me all night?" Julian laughed in exasperation. He thought I was ignoring him, but it turned out I hadn't even looked at his messages and had even put him on Do Not Disturb. He turned my face to meet his gaze. "Sage, tell me, are you dating someone?" I found his question completely baffling. I was swamped with work and studies every day, where would I find time to date? I frowned. "I don't have time to date." Julian seemed pleased with my answer and his eyes narrowed into a smile again, just as the first rays of morning sunlight pierced through the clouds and shone on his face. He was so handsome. "Then I'm going to pursue you." From then on, Julian really did start pursuing me. He somehow got my class schedule and sat beside me in every class. Sometimes, if I arrived late, he would even thoughtfully save a seat for me, waiting with a cheerful smile for me to sit down. But he soon noticed I vanished as soon as class ended, so he found me at my workplace. Watching me sweat profusely while frying fries, he left without saying a word. The next day, my manager informed me that my salary had doubled and I could work 1 day on, 2 days off. Oh my goodness! Such good fortune! I almost burst into tears hugging the manager. The manager said a new colleague would be arriving tonight, but I hadn't expected to see Julian. He looked distinguished even in a work uniform. Julian became my night shift colleague. He took on all the work, frying fries and chicken wings. How can a girl do such a dangerous job? What if your skin gets burned? A few glistening beads of sweat trickled down his cheek. I gently wiped it away with a tissue. Julian smiled and said that from then on, he would fry the fries and chicken wings, and I would be responsible for wiping his sweat. Don't we seem like a husband and wife team? Looking at his face, my heart pounded like a drum for some reason. Fortunately, the workspace was noisy, or he would have heard it. Later, I found out Julian had bought the store. Yet he accompanied me on my part-time job for half a year. Eventually, I found a part-time job with more reasonable hours, and that's when I agreed to be Julian's girlfriend. I knew Julian came from a good family, but I hadn't expected his family to be the group. From the first day we were together, the gossip around me had never ceased. Julian took me out to dinner, and his friends said I was just a pretty face. He flew I into a rage that day, and from then on, no one dared to speak ill of me. He was meticulous and tender, gentle and considerate towards me. I never imagined he would one day change his mind. I stayed in the restroom for a long time. Alexander knocked on the door, asking if I was okay. When I opened the door, he saw my tear-streaked face and bloodshot eyes. His expression paused, and he took off his jacket, wrapping it around me. He led me out of the private dining room. Julian chased after us. Alexander, where are you two going? Fearing would see me in such a disheveled state, I shrank further into Alexander's embrace. Alexander lowered his head, cupped my face, and kissed my lips without preamble. My eyes widened. Julian's face clearly turned very ugly. Alexander, don't go too far. Alexander released me, his gaze deeply fixed on my eyes. Too far? But as my girlfriend. He finished speaking and then led me away, leaving Julian standing there alone. That night, Alexander and Julian had a huge argument over the phone. Alexander, I told you not to lay a hand on Sage. She's my girlfriend. Sage only knows me as her boyfriend right now, and Tiffany is your girlfriend. Tell me, if Sage found out you were involved with her best friend, would she forgive you? Get out. Don't you dare threaten me. Sage will only ever marry me. Fine, kissing is one thing, but please don't sleep with her, okay? Alexander didn't answer and hung up the phone. Since that day, I found a job at an art gallery. The paintings in the art gallery needed regular maintenance, and my job was to conduct regular inspections of all the paintings. Alexander knew I was working. He didn't say much, but he picked me up and dropped me off every day, come rain or shine. It was truly like a newlywed couple. After and Julian publicly got together, they flaunted their relationship, posting 2 or 3 social media updates almost every day, each one about Julian. Julian took her to the Maldives, which was originally my planned honeymoon destination. They kissed on the beach, watched the same sunrise and sunset, they chased whales, and made promises of a lifetime by the coastline. I sat on the bed, scrolling through their happy records one by one, when my phone was suddenly confiscated by Alexander. Do you want to go to the Maldives too? I just want things that are exclusively mine. Whether it was a person or a beautiful love story. I deleted Tiffany, and Julian along with her. They both vanished from my social media updates. It wasn't until Tiffany found me at the art gallery that day. She was wearing an expensive Hermes coat, and the ring on her finger had been replaced with an even larger and more dazzling diamond ring. Sage, long time no see. Is there something you need? Tiffany immediately grabbed my arm, but I had no time to play the role of close friends, so I subtly pulled my hand away. A hint of displeasure appeared on her face as she ran her hand through her silky long hair. I'm here to tell you that Julian and I got our marriage certificate. As she spoke, she pulled 2 red marriage certificates from her pocket. The official stamps on them clearly proved that Tiffany and Julian's relationship was legal and real. I had always looked forward to marrying Julian. I had waited from the age of 18 until I was 23, only to receive news of his marriage to someone else. Tiffany held the marriage certificates, beaming with triumph. She had specifically come to show off to me today. Sage, you're my best friend, so I just had to be the first to tell you this good news. I curled my lips. I actually have a gift for you too. Tiffany frowned slightly. Clearly, my reaction wasn't what she had wanted. I raised my hand and slapped her across the face. The art gallery, usually quiet, erupted with the sound of the slap, drawing everyone's attention. Here, this is my gift for you, a big slap. Are you satisfied? If not, I can give you another one. Tiffany's face as distorted from the slap, one hand clutching her cheek, as she shrieked hysterically. Sage, you bitch, I knew you didn't lose your memory. You might fool those men, but you can't fool me. I smiled. Yes, I was faking amnesia. So what? My leftovers, you pick them up and eat them. Doesn't it taste just as good? Tiffany knew what I was referring to, but she didn't get angry. Instead, she laughed. Your leftovers? Do you know when Julian and I first slept together? It was the very night he confessed his feelings to you. He announced your relationship on social media, then came to me to sleep with me. Every gift he gave you, I have an identical copy. As she spoke, she pulled out her phone, which was filled with photos neatly documenting everything Julian had given her over the years. Even the plaster figurine Julian had personally painted for me, Tiffany had an identical second copy. Every gift Julian had given me over the years, I had carefully preserved. I thought these small tokens were proof of Julian's genuine affection for me, but it turned out they were also proof of his relationship with another woman. Are you finished? If you're done, then leave. Don't make a spectacle of yourself here. You're acting superior as a mistress? Tiffany smiled carelessly, then delicately admired the massive diamond ring on her finger. Sage, I'm the one who married Julian. The one without a marriage certificate is the mistress. The commotion we were causing had already attracted the attention of the curator. The 50-something-year-old curator, with his beer belly, came running over, bowing and scraping to Tiffany. Mrs. Julian, why didn't you inform us you were coming? I would have arranged to clear the gallery for you. Tiffany waved her hand arrogantly. No need. Just fire this employee. With her here, I'm not in the mood to look at the exhibits. The curator naturally agreed, no one dared to displease Julian's wife. When came to pick me up, I had already been waiting for a very long time outside. He always got out of the car himself to open the door for me. Watching him step out and walk towards me, I suddenly felt a wave of injustice, and tears streamed from my eyes against my will. Alexander's expression was frantic, he clumsily wiped away my tears. What's wrong, Sage? Who bullied you? I was fired. Alexander's lips thinned into a straight line, his eyes dark, but his hand gently wiped away my tears. I didn't expect the curator's call the next day. He was crying hysterically on the phone, saying he had lost his job. It turned out Alexander had bought the art gallery, and I had become the new curator. How much does it cost to buy an art gallery? I didn't know. All I knew was that the man who bought the art gallery was still cooking in the kitchen. I felt it was time for this charade to end. Alexander, I have something to tell you. Alexander was wearing a white shirt and black trousers, a well-tailored outfit that accentuated his excellent physique. He was currently wearing an apron and frying steak, which added a domestic charm to him. What is it, sweetheart? Don't call me sweetheart. Alexander raised an eyebrow. I gritted my teeth and revealed the fact that I hadn't lost my memory. The man opposite me fell silent for a moment. So, you're telling me now that you didn't lose your memory because you want to break up with me? Me? I was dumbfounded by his question. What did he mean? Shouldn't he find out I was faking amnesia to trick him, that he tricked me into thinking he was my boyfriend, and then we'd have a huge fight and cut ties? Alexander, I didn't lose my memory. You're not my boyfriend. This charade ends here. I disagree. Alexander turned away from me and continued to focus on frying his steak, as if nothing had happened. I secretly planned that after this meal, Alexander and I would go our separate ways. After all, he tricked me, and I tricked him, neither of us owes the other anything. I wouldn't go to the art gallery, and I didn't want to be some lousy curator. These days, I had already received a graduate school offer from an art university in the US. In a few days, I would be leaving for the US, and I wanted nothing more to do with anything in this country. Julian, however, arrived at that moment. The doorbell at Alexander's estate rang urgently. Sage, I know you didn't lose your memory. Why aren't you coming home? Julian shouted outside the door. Alexander impatiently went to open it. The moment the door opened, Julian darted into the villa and found me. After many days, Julian's face actually felt somewhat unfamiliar to me. He embraced me, and I smelled the strong women's perfume on him. My heart began to ache faintly again. Why did you lie to me? I pushed him away. Didn't you lie to me too? If it weren't for this, how would I have known about your affair? Julian's face went white for a moment, but he still thought he could appease me. Sage, I was wrong. Tiffany and I were just playing a role. You're the only one I've ever loved. Tiffany has already shown me your marriage certificate. Don't lie to me anymore, Julian. Julian's face lost all color. He kept begging me to go home with him, but I remained unmoved. He refused to leave, so Alexander called security to drag Julian out. As was being escorted out, he shamelessly yelled at Alexander, Alexander, you bastard. Don't think for a second I don't know you've always coveted Sage. Give her back to me. Alexander coldly shut the villa door, completely severing their brotherhood. He turned back and cautiously looked at me. I pretended not to have heard what Julian had just said and silently went upstairs to pack my things. Actually, I had nothing left at Alexander's house. I came to Alexander's house empty-handed, and when I left, I only took my cell phone. I found a hotel to stay in. In just one more week, I could escape this place forever. In the evening, Grandma called me. Grandma was the kindest person to me in all of Metro City, and the only one worth my lingering affection. Sage, why haven't you come to see Grandma lately? It's going to get colder soon, remember to wear warm clothes. I suddenly choked up. This strange and cold city perhaps held only this one thread of genuine affection. Grandma, I'm sorry. I've been too busy lately. Even if I don't come anymore, please take good care of yourself. The old woman coughed violently a few times on the other end. Sage, come see Grandma this afternoon. I couldn't refuse the old woman's request and agreed. Grandma lived in a sprawling, traditional estate in the suburbs, with 10 servants to care for her. Brenda, the housekeeper, was already waiting for me at the entrance. Brenda told me that Grandma's condition had worsened recently, and she was having trouble remembering things, but she kept mentioning wanting to see me every day. The old woman on the hospital bed had her eyes half closed, her gaze hazy. I softly called out, Grandma. Grandma turned her head, staring at me for a while before her eyes gradually cleared. Sage, why did it take you so long to see me? Don't you love Grandma anymore? I knelt beside the bed and took the old woman's hand. How could I? I love you most, Grandma. The old woman smiled. Julian is a rascal, but he's lucky to have found a wife like you. Beautiful, educated, and well-behaved. Grandma probably won't be able to see you two get married. Grandma, before I could finish, Julian suddenly pushed the door open and entered. He had also heard what was just said, and he quickly walked over, his eyes bloodshot, and knelt beside me at Grandma's bedside. My hand was resting on Grandma's, and Julian's hand was resting on mine. Grandma, please don't say such things. You'll definitely be healthy enough to see Sage and me get married. You even have to name your great-grandchild. Grandma smiled contentedly. I couldn't bear to tell her that Julian and I had already broken up. Suddenly, a commotion erupted outside, and then Tiffany burst into the room like a fiend. Her face was contorted, her eyes blazing with rage at the sight of Julian's hand over mine. Oh, good. Grandma probably doesn't know, but I'm your granddaughter-in-law. Julian and I got our marriage certificate, didn't you know? Julian, you think you can play around with me and then divorce me? I'm telling you, absolutely not. Julian's face changed, and he stood up and slapped Tiffany across the face. You crazy woman, I played along with your little game of house, and you actually took it seriously? This certificate doesn't prove a thing. My only wife in this life is Sage. Tiffany looked at Julian in disbelief. She had been his mistress for so many years and had finally gotten to the point where she could openly get married, but Julian had said such a thing. She completely lost it. She pulled a medical report from her purse and desperately handed it to Grandma. Grandma, you must help me. I'm pregnant with your family's child, you can't abandon me. Julian frantically snatched the paper away. Grandma gasped for air, clutching her chest, looking utterly distressed. Seeing the old woman's lips turn colorless, I quickly dialed 911. The servants also rushed into the room, trying to force Tiffany out. But it was all too late. The old woman died just as she was being lifted onto the ambulance. Grandma passed away, and the culprits behind all of it were Julian and Tiffany. After that, Julian was placed under house arrest by his parents, and Tiffany seemed to vanish without a trace. It wasn't until many years later, when news broke about a human trafficking incident in a remote, lawless region overseas, that I saw Tiffany again. Both her hands and feet were broken, and she had become deranged and incoherent. After attending Grandma's funeral, I went to the airport. The second before boarding, I thought I saw Alexander. He stood by the lower to ceiling windows of the terminal, quietly watching me. I boarded the plane, knowing that I would ultimately fly like a bird to the mountain that was meant for me. The Alexander's POV, I had a girl I secretly loved. That year, during freshman orientation, I noticed Sage in the bustling crowd. She was more radiant than the sun. I watched her for a while, which caught Julian's attention. He smiled and said he would get her WhatsApp number for me. I disagreed. Julian was a playboy. I didn't want that girl to have any interaction with him. I later learned her name was Sage. Sage was an art major, and I found her to be very talented. But she rarely participated in competitions, most of her time was spent on part-time jobs. Was she really that strapped for cash? She always worked so hard, doing a part-time job at a KFC every night. I hired people to stand guard at the restaurant entrance. Whenever someone tried to order, they'd pay them to leave. Who eats burgers late at night anyway? Didn't they know she was working so hard? One day, she had just gotten out of class and looked unwell. I was a bit worried, so I followed her. To my surprise, she fainted. I lifted her into my arms. She was so incredibly thin, it pained my heart. On the way, I ran into Julian. Luckily, he had his car, so I asked him to drive us to the hospital. At the hospital, the doctor examined Sage and said she was suffering from overwork and malnutrition. I wanted to stay with her until she woke up, but my mom suddenly called and told me to come home to handle something. Julian said he would notify me when Sage woke up. But he lied to me. He added Sage on WhatsApp himself. A few months later, I found their relationship had grown very intimate. Julian worked his part-time job with Sage every night. It infuriated me. Later, they got together. Julian said Sage was the best and most beautiful girl he had ever met. I really wanted to pin him down and beat him. Never mind. As long as he treated Sag well, that's all that mattered. She seemed happy too. Julian did take good care of Sage for a while. She gained a little weight and looked even more beautiful. But then Julian cheated. I couldn't understand it. That couldn't hold a candle to Sage, yet Julian was getting a hotel room with Tiffany every single night. If had found out sooner, would she still have been so utterly devoted to Julian? Unfortunately, Sage never discovered what was going on between Tiffany and Julian until after she graduated from university. I waited another year, only to hear the news that Sage and Julian were getting engaged. I told Julian I couldn't make it because I had an obligation, but in reality, I was already plotting to crash the engagement party and steal her away. I planned to expose Julian's cheating at the engagement party. But the day before the plan was to be carried out, Sage fell from upstairs and lost her memory. When I rushed to the hospital, I saw Julian embracing Tiffany, while Sage lay pale-faced in the hospital bed. Had truly lost her memory? Then why did she look so sad? Happiness came too suddenly. Sage suddenly became my girlfriend. They say online that the way to a woman's heart is through her stomach, so I cooked all her favorite dishes. I wanted to keep her firmly by my side. When was sleeping that night, she kept crying in her dreams. My heart ached a little, so I held her close. Why did that bastard have to ruin the person I cherished most? If I had known, I would have taken Sage away 5 years ago. I wished these days could go on forever. Even if Sage was faking her amnesia, I was willing to live in her lie for the rest of my life. But one day, she suddenly wanted to shatter that lie. I knew she was leaving. I had already seen her email. She was going to the US to study art-related majors. That was her strong suit. She would definitely shine brightly in that field. No matter how reluctant I was, I would let her go. Sage seemed to have discovered I had been spying on her. I flew to the US every week to see her. If anyone tried to pursue her, I'd make sure to deal with those foreign guys. One day, she suddenly called me, demanding an explanation. Alexander, what exactly do you want? I want to be with you. Sage fell silent. She had been slightly angry, but now she started to stammer. She must have known I liked her all along, right? I bought an apartment in the US and started dating Sage every week. I learned many sweet and spicy dishes and fed Sage until she was plump and healthy. What they said online was true after all. I eventually kept her by my side. Thanks for watching today's story. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your opinions, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.